Hello, I'm just back and I'm like jumping in quickly to say hi to you. And I hope you have had a fantastic week. It has been a whirlwind of a week of vacation with my kiddos and my mom and my stepdad. And it's been fantastic. Some great downtime. And we are like in the throes of making sense of it all and landing on our feet back where we are. But wanted to jump in and just connect briefly on this thing that I've been thinking about a lot, which is sort of what are we working towards? What are we teaching towards? What are we setting our students up for? What is our goal? And in general, I often try to think about like, where are we trying to get to? And then how do we work backwards to figure out how to set ourselves up and our students up to reach that desired outcome, to sort of figure out where we are trying to go. So, with that in mind, I had recently sort of remembered this great work by Annika Wolf and her colleagues, where they were articulating like, what are different kinds of citizens that we need in the 21st century who have data literacy? Data literacy, this ability to collect, organize, visualize, analyze, interpret, and share data for ourselves and others. That's a lot. That's a lot that we're trying to work on. And yes, it's a K-12 progression like we talk about in all the time and we're always working towards, but even within that, like what is are we all working towards the same end goal? And I actually would advocate maybe the answer is no. And Annika Wolf and her colleagues did this great work of thinking about what do we need? What are different things and skills and strategies that we need across our different citizens in our citizenry and our societies to all be functional and conversant and comfortable and confident working with our data? And so I wanted to share out Annika's great work. It's from a while ago, but it's fantastic and we can keep building on it. It's just as a little like nugget to think about as you are moving forward and starting to think into this next school year. It is crazy, bonkers to believe that we are already there, but some of us are going back to school really soon. Some of us have many, many more weeks of summer vacation. But just as sort of to plant a seed of a way to think about as we are planning things out for this coming school year. Okay, well, so what are we working towards? Sorry, birds are flying overhead. Yes, I am actually outside. This is not a virtual background. Okay, so with that in mind, there are 4 types of citizens that Wolf and colleagues describe. So this is not comprehensive. This is just giving us a place to start to think about. So there are readers, as they define them, which a reader needs to be able to have the skills to interpret data that is presented as part of their everyday life, that shows up on their watches, on their phones, on their electricity bills, things like that. So the data have been digested, they've been visualized, they've been put forward, and the claim is made and it is presented out to you. So as a reader, you need to be able to critically kind of take that in and think about it and make sense of it. Then there are what they classify as makers. So a maker is somebody who needs the skills to be able to integrate data, as in like pull in data, collect the data for this express purpose of solving a problem. We are collecting that data to do something with it, to make a decision with it, and to move forward. So we need to consciously be aware of our own contributions to the data that we are collecting, to society that we are putting out in terms of the data that we are putting out so that decisions can be made from those data. So makers is another kind of category with similar but also different set of skills in it. Another category that they describe are communicators. So these are folks who need the skills to be able to make sense of data, most likely that somebody else has collected, that they are accessing and using to tell a story. And so they are doing the construction of the visualizations and of identifying which story from those data do they want to tell and do they want to put forward to communicate forward to others. So often using data that somebody else has collected, as I've said, so they're not making as in like building the data set themselves, but they're accessing data, visualizing it, and really thinking about, okay, so what's the story to share out that claim with somebody to be able to make sense of? And then the final category that Wolf and her colleagues talk about are scientists. And they define scientists as needing to have the skills to combine strong technical skills to be able to collect, process, do computational thinking on, maybe run some statistical analyses on as they're working through the data, as well as those communication skills of once they have looked through the data and processed it, either data they collected or they accessed from multiple different places, to be able to communicate out. And all of that work is really predicated on a strong foundation of knowledge of the domain, like very deep, like narrow and deep are our scientists going in that domain knowledge as they are working through it. So my question for you is, okay, first off, do any of these resonate? And then secondly, which one are you pointing towards? Are you hoping by the end of this coming school year, by May, June 2025, will your students have become solid makers? Or will they have become solid readers? Maybe solid communicators? Or even solid scientists? Like, what would make you feel so just elated and excited at the end of next school year in terms of where your students are at? Now, here's the hint. There's no wrong answer. And you and your colleagues at your school, unless there is a like dictate on high from your school board or your superintendent or your department chair as to which you should be pointing towards, we each get to, at this point, make a decision for ourselves, for us and for our students. So my question is, what is your decision? What are you going to be working towards in this coming year to help your students make sense of data? Which of these categories of data literate citizens are you pointing towards? Are you hoping to teach towards for your students? Would love to hear from you. Put it in the chat or comments or whatever we call this thing. Someday I will figure all of this out. Okay, gonna go back to my kids and help unsettle from our week vacation. I hope you have a wonderful week.